Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. And I'm here to help you feel more confident when speaking English in professional meetings. Meetings. Just hearing that word can make some people nervous, especially if the meeting is in English and English isn't your first language. I completely understand that feeling. Many English learners tell me that meetings are one of the most challenging situations they face at work. But here's the good news: you don't need perfect English to participate effectively in meetings. What you need is confidence and a collection of useful phrases that you can use in different situations. And that's exactly what we're going to work on today. In this episode, I'm going to teach you the essential phrases you need for meetings. We'll cover how to start a meeting, how to give your opinion, how to agree or disagree politely, how to ask questions, and how to end a meeting professionally. I'll also give you tips on how to stay calm and focused during meetings. By the end of this podcast, you'll have a toolkit of phrases that you can use in any meeting situation. You'll feel more prepared and more confident. So let's get started. Common fears learners have about meetings. Before we learn the phrases, let's talk about the fears that many English learners have about meetings. If you have these fears, you're not alone. Fear number one: I won't understand what people are saying. This is very common. Native speakers sometimes talk quickly. They might use idioms or references you don't know. And when multiple people are speaking, it can be hard to follow the conversation. Fear number two: people won't understand me. Many learners worry about their accent or their grammar. They're afraid that if they speak, people won't understand them or will think their English is bad. Fear number three: I won't be able to think of the right words quickly enough. In meetings, conversations move fast. You might think of what you want to say in your native language, but struggle to translate it quickly into English. By the time you're ready to speak, the conversation has moved on. Fear number four: I'll make a mistake and look unprofessional. You want to make a good impression. You don't want to say something wrong or use the wrong phrase. This fear can stop you from speaking at all. Fear number five: I won't know when or how to contribute. In meetings, there are rules about when to speak and when to listen. If you're not sure about these rules, it can feel confusing and intimidating. All of these fears are normal and understandable. But I want you to know something important. Everyone in the meeting wants the meeting to be successful. They want to hear your ideas. They want you to contribute. And they understand that English might not be your first language. Most people are very patient and supportive. If you don't understand something, you can ask. If you make a small grammar mistake, it's not a big problem. The important thing is that you communicate your ideas clearly. Now, let's learn the phrases that will help you feel more confident. Starting a meeting. Let's begin with how to start a meeting. If you're the person leading the meeting, you need to know how to open it professionally. The most common and useful phrase for starting a meeting is, let's get started. This is a simple, friendly phrase that tells everyone the meeting is beginning. You can say it like this: Good morning, everyone. Let's get started. Another way to start is, shall we begin? This is slightly more formal. You might use it in a more serious or formal meeting. After you start the meeting, you usually state the purpose. Here are some phrases for that. Thank you all for coming. Today we're here to discuss. The purpose of today's meeting is to. We're meeting today to talk about. Well, I'm still, for example, good afternoon, everyone. Let's get started. Thank you all for coming. Today we're here to discuss the new marketing strategy. It's also helpful to give an overview of the meeting. We have three main topics to cover today. First, we'll review last month's results. Then we'll discuss the budget. Finally, we'll plan next quarter's goals. This gives everyone a clear structure and helps them know what to expect. If you're not leading the meeting but you want to suggest starting, you can say, I think we're all here now. Shall we begin? Remember, starting a meeting clearly and professionally sets a positive tone for everything that follows. Giving your opinion politely. One of the main reasons you're in a meeting is to share your ideas and opinions. So it's very important to know how to do this confidently and politely. The most common phrase for giving an opinion is, in my opinion. This is a safe, professional way to introduce your idea. For example, in my opinion, we should focus more on social media marketing. Let me give you several other phrases you can use. I think that. This is simple and direct. For example, I think that we need more time to complete this project. I believe that. This is similar to I think, but sounds slightly more formal. I believe that this approach will be very effective. From my perspective, this phrase shows that you understand others might see things differently. From my perspective, the main issue is communication. It seems to me that this is a gentle way to give an opinion. It seems to me that we're making good progress. I'd like to suggest that use this when you're proposing an idea. I'd like to suggest that we meet weekly instead of monthly. If you want to be more tentative or careful, you can say, I might be wrong, but I think I could be mistaken, but it seems like these phrases show humility and make your opinion less direct, which can be appropriate in some situations. Practice using these phrases. Choose 2 or 3 that feel comfortable to you and use them regularly. The more you use them, the more natural they will feel. Agreeing with others. During meetings, you'll often want to show that you agree with someone's idea. Here are the best phrases for expressing agreement. The most common phrase is, I agree with. You can complete this phrase in different ways. I agree with Sarah. I agree with that point. I agree with what you just said. Here are more ways to show agreement. That's a good point. This shows you think the person's idea is valuable. Exactly. This is a short, strong way to show complete agreement. I completely agree. I totally agree. These emphasize that your agreement is strong. That's exactly what I was thinking. This shows that you had the same idea. You're absolutely right. This is a strong statement of agreement. You can also build on someone's idea while agreeing. I agree with Maria, and I'd like to add that. That's a great point. In addition, we should also consider this shows agreement but also contributes your own thoughts. Remember, showing agreement is important in meetings. It builds positive relationships and moves the discussion forward. Disagreeing politely? Sometimes you'll disagree with an idea in a meeting. This is completely normal and expected. The important thing is to disagree politely and respectfully. In English, we don't usually say directly, you're wrong, or that's a bad idea. Instead, we use softer language. Let me show you how. Here are polite ways to disagree. I see your point, but this acknowledges the other person's idea before you present a different view. I see your point, but I think we should consider other options. I understand what you're saying, however. I understand what you're saying, however, I have some concerns about the timeline. I'm not sure I agree with that. This is gentle and doesn't sound aggressive. I have a different perspective. I have a different opinion. These phrases introduce your different view without saying the other person is wrong. That's one way to look at it, but have you considered this suggests an alternative without being confrontational? That's one way to look at it, but have you considered the cost implications? I'm afraid I don't agree. The word afraid makes this sound more polite and less direct. With respect, I think we should approach this differently. With respect shows that you value the other person's opinion even though you disagree. You can also offer an alternative. I see what you mean, but what if we tried? That could work. But another option might be the key to polite disagreement is to first, acknowledge the other person's point. Second, use softening language. Third, explain your different view calmly. Fourth, offer alternatives when possible. Never make it personal. Focus on the ideas, not the person. This keeps the discussion professional and productive. Asking for clarification. This is one of the most important skills for non-native speakers in meetings. If you don't understand something, you should ask. Don't just sit quietly and hope you'll figure it out later. Asking questions shows that you're engaged and want to understand. Here's the most useful phrase. Could you clarify that? This is professional and polite. You can also say, could you clarify what you mean by, could you clarify that last point? Here are more phrases for asking for clarification. Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you repeat it? Use this if you didn't hear something clearly. I'm not sure I understand. Could you explain that again? This is honest and direct. What do you mean by, for example, what do you mean by streamline the process? Could you give an example? Examples help make abstract ideas more concrete. So, if I understand correctly, you're saying that this lets you check your understanding. So, if I understand correctly, you're saying that we should delay the launch? Just to make sure I understand. Just to make sure I understand. Are you suggesting we hire more staff? Could you elaborate on that? This asks for more detail or explanation. When you say X, do you mean Y? This checks specific meaning. When you say soon, do you mean this week or this month? Remember, asking for clarification is a sign of professionalism, not weakness. It shows you care about understanding things correctly. Everyone in the meeting will appreciate your questions because it helps ensure clear communication. Interrupting politely? Sometimes in a meeting, you need to interrupt someone. Maybe you have an important point to add, or maybe you need to correct a misunderstanding. Interrupting can feel rude, but if you do it politely, it's perfectly acceptable. Here are polite ways to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt, but this acknowledges that you're interrupting and apologizes for it. Sorry to interrupt, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. Excuse me, can I just add something? This is polite and asks permission to speak. May I jump in here? Jump in means to interrupt or add something quickly. If I could just say something quickly, this suggests your point will be brief. Before we move on, I'd like to mention this is useful when the discussion is about to change topics. Before we move on, I'd like to mention that we haven't discussed the budget yet. Can I stop you there for a moment? This is more direct, but still polite. Can I stop you there for a moment? I think we need to clarify something first. After you interrupt, make sure your point is relevant and important. Don't interrupt just to interrupt, and keep your interruption brief. Say what you need to say, then let the speaker continue. Also, be aware of cultural differences. In some cultures, interrupting is more common and acceptable. In others, it's considered very rude. In English speaking business contexts, polite interruptions are generally acceptable if they're done respectfully and for good reason. Ending a meeting. Just as it's important to start a meeting well, it's important to end it well. A good ending summarizes what was discussed and clarifies what happens next. If you're leading the meeting, here's how to end it. I think that covers everything. This signals that you've discussed all the topics. Let's summarize what we've decided. Let me summarize our key points. Then you review the main decisions or action items. To recap, Maria will prepare the report, John will contact the client, and we'll meet again next Tuesday. Are there any questions before we finish? This gives people a chance to ask final questions. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for your contributions. These show appreciation for everyone's participation. Let's schedule our next meeting. This ensures continuity and follow-up. A complete ending might sound like this. I think that covers everything. Let me summarize our key decisions. We've agreed to launch the new website in March. Sarah will lead the design team, and we'll increase the marketing budget by 15%. Our next meeting will be on the 15th. Are there any questions? No? Great. Thank you all for your time today. If you're a participant and not the leader, you might say at the end, "Thank you for the productive meeting." I look forward to our next discussion. Ending clearly helps everyone leave the meeting with a clear understanding of what was decided and what they need to do next. Listening. Tips for non-native speakers. Now let's talk about listening. In meetings, you spend a lot of time listening. For non-native speakers, this can be challenging. Here are some tips to help you listen more effectively. Tip 1. Focus on key words and main ideas. Don't try to understand every single word. Listen for the key words and main ideas. If someone says a lot of words you don't know, focus on the words you do recognize and try to understand the general meaning. Tip 2. Watch body language. People communicate with more than words. Watch their facial expressions, hand gestures, and body language. These can give you clues about the meaning even if you miss some words. Tip 3. Take notes. Write down key points, new vocabulary, or things you want to ask about. This helps you stay focused and gives you something to refer to later. You can also write down questions and ask them when there's an appropriate pause. Tip 4. Don't be afraid to ask for repetition. As we discussed earlier, it's completely acceptable to ask someone to repeat something. Say, "Could you repeat that?" Or just "No, wait, or "Sorry, I didn't catch that." Most people will be happy to repeat or rephrase. Tip 5. Stay engaged even if you're confused. Sometimes you might feel lost in the conversation, and that's okay. Stay engaged by nodding, making eye contact, and following the speaker's body language. The conversation might become clearer, or you can ask for clarification at an appropriate moment. Tip 6. Learn common meeting vocabulary. Meetings often use specific vocabulary like agenda, action items, follow up, deadline, proposal, and feedback. Learn these words and you'll understand meetings better. Tip 7. Review after the meeting. If the meeting was recorded or if there are notes, review them afterward. This helps reinforce what you heard and clarifies anything you missed. You can also ask a colleague to explain anything you didn't understand. Remember, listening in a second language is difficult, but it gets easier with practice. Every meeting you attend will improve your listening skills. Practice phrases. Repeat slowly. Now, I'm going to repeat the most important phrases from today's podcast. I'll say each phrase slowly twice. You can listen now, or you can practice repeating these phrases out loud after me later. Let's start with phrases for beginning a meeting. Let's get started. Pause. Let's get started. Shall we begin? Pause. Shall we begin? Thank you all for coming. Pause. Thank you all for coming. Now, phrases for giving opinions. In my opinion. Pause. In my opinion, I think that. Pause. I think that. From my perspective. Pause. From my perspective. I'd like to suggest that. Pause. I'd like to suggest that. Phrases for agreeing. I agree with. Pause. I agree with. That's a good point. Pause. That's a good point. Exactly. Pause. Exactly. You're absolutely right. Pause. You're absolutely right. Phrases for disagreeing politely. I see your point, but. Pause. I see your point, but I have a different perspective. Pause. I have a different perspective. I'm not sure I agree with that. Pause. I'm not sure I agree with that. With respect, I think. Pause. With respect, I think. Phrases for asking for clarification. Could you clarify that? Pause. Could you clarify that? I'm not sure I understand. Pause. I'm not sure I understand. Could you give an example? Pause. Could you give an example? So, if I understand correctly. Pause. So, if I understand correctly. Phrases for interrupting politely. Sorry to interrupt, but. Pause. Sorry to interrupt, but. May I jump in here? Pause. May I jump in here before we move on? Pause. Before we move on. Phrases for ending a meeting. Let's summarize. Pause. Let's summarize. So, to recap. Pause. So, to recap. Thank you for your time. Pause. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions? Pause. Are there any questions? Practice these phrases regularly. Say them out loud. Use them in your next meeting. The more you practice, the more natural they will become. Quick reference guide. Here's a quick summary of all the key phrases we've covered today, organized by situation, starting a meeting. Let's get started. Shall we begin? Today we're here to discuss. The purpose of today's meeting is to giving opinions. In my opinion, I think that. I believe that. From my perspective, I'd like to suggest that. Agreeing. I agree with. That's a good point. Exactly. I completely agree. You're absolutely right. Disagreeing politely? I see your point, but I have a different perspective. I'm not sure I agree with that. With respect, I think. That's one way to look at it, but asking for clarification. Could you clarify that? I'm not sure I understand. Could you give an example? What do you mean by. So, if I understand correctly, interrupting politely. Sorry to interrupt, but may I jump in here? Excuse me, can I just add something? Before we move on, ending a meeting. Let's summarize. So, to recap, thank you for your time. Are there any questions? Let's schedule our next meeting. Building your confidence before we finish, I want to talk about confidence. Learning phrases is important, but confidence is just as important. Here's the truth: you will make mistakes. You might use the wrong word. You might mix up your grammar. Your accent might be strong. But none of this means you can't participate effectively in meetings. Confidence comes from preparation and practice. Here's what you can do. Before the meeting, look at the meeting agenda if there is one. Think about what topics will be discussed. Prepare some phrases or points you want to make. Write down key vocabulary related to the topics. This preparation will make you feel more ready. During the meeting, speak slowly and clearly. Take a breath before you speak. It's better to speak slowly and clearly than to rush and make mistakes. If you forget a word, describe it in another way. Don't apologize for your English unless it's really necessary. After the meeting, reflect on what went well. Maybe you successfully asked a question or you gave your opinion. Celebrate those successes. Also, think about what you can improve. Did you understand most of the discussion? Did you contribute? What phrases could you use next time? Remember these important points. 1. Everyone appreciates clear communication. Even if your English isn't perfect, if you communicate clearly, people will understand and respect you. 2. Your ideas are valuable. Don't let language barriers stop you from sharing them. What you have to say is important. 3. Mistakes are part of learning. Every native speaker has also made mistakes in meetings. Making a small grammar error is not a disaster. 4. You will improve with practice. Each meeting you attend is an opportunity to practice. Over time, speaking in meetings will feel more natural and less stressful. 5. People want you to succeed. Your colleagues want meetings to be productive. They want to hear your ideas. They're not judging your English harshly. They're focused on the content of what you're saying. Final thoughts and encouragement. We've covered a lot in this episode. Let me summarize the key points one more time. First, meetings in English can feel challenging, but they become easier with the right phrases in practice. Second, you now have a toolkit of phrases for every meeting situation. Starting a meeting, giving opinions, agreeing, disagreeing, asking for clarification, interrupting, and ending a meeting. Third, remember to listen actively and don't be afraid to ask questions when you don't understand something. Fourth, practice these phrases regularly. The more you use them, the more natural they will become. And fifth, build your confidence through preparation and by recognizing that everyone makes mistakes and that's okay. I want you to know that participating in English meetings is a skill you can develop. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be clear, polite, and willing to contribute. Here's my challenge for you. In your next meeting, try to use at least 3 of the phrases we discussed today. Maybe you'll say, in my opinion, when sharing an idea. Maybe you'll say, I agree with, when supporting someone. Maybe you'll ask, could you clarify that? One when you need understanding. Choose 3 phrases and use them. Then, after the meeting, reflect on how it felt. I think you'll find that using these phrases makes you feel more confident and more professional. Remember, every expert was once a beginner. Every confident meeting participant was once nervous. You're on a journey of improvement, and every meeting is a step forward. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. I hope you found it helpful and practical. I hope you feel more prepared and more confident about participating in English meetings. Keep practicing, keep learning, keep improving. You can do this. Good luck in your next meeting. I'm confident you're going to do great. Until next time, take care and keep speaking English with confidence.